The Cambodian genocide was the mass killings of the Cambodian people by the Khmer Rouge, a regime under the leadership of Pol Pot. The Khmer Rouge was a communist party that took over the capital and quickly made an isolated and classless society by evacuating all cities and towns to the fields. Over 2 million people were forced to move at gunpoint. Before they took over, the citizens of Cambodia led normal lives, either in the city or in rural areas, living an agrarian life. During this time, the Vietnam War was going on, and through an alliance against a common enemy, the Vietnamese and the Khmer Rouge fought together, which led to Vietnam initially supporting the Khmer Rouge's rise to power, but not for long. Pol Pot, the leader of the Khmer Rouge, and the man who killed over a quarter of Cambodia.
Okay.
Revolution. Although Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge had a revolutionary goal of turning Cambodia into a communist state, they planned to exterminate millions of undesirable people. The Khmer Rouge took over Cambodia by winning a 5-year civil war and allying with the former leader of Cambodia, Prince Norodom Sihanouk. Pol Pot was determined to achieve his goal, no matter the cost. As he famously said, "To keep you is no benefit, to destroy you is no loss." Pol Pot had to accomplish many things to become the leader of the Khmer Rouge. He was part of the Marxist Circle, studied in France with other Khmer students, drafted the first party statute with Nuon Chea, and started to make the political line of the party in 1958 through 1960. He made the Communist Party of Kampuchea, the CPK, rose through the party ranks and made a guerrilla resistance, gained territory, and took over Cambodia. Even for a bad person, he worked hard to become who he was, though he killed millions in his reign. One reason a great number of people died was because of a famous prison called Tuol Sleng, or S-21. It was used to interrogate or imprison the enemies of that state, which included families that fell under suspicion. The treatment of the citizens was inhumane. Danny Vong, a Cambodian genocide survivor, stated, "We were reduced to subhuman beings." This was a truthful statement, as the citizens were stripped of their property, human rights, individual identity, and social and cultural institutions to create the Khmer Rouge's agrarian utopia. They sent the Cambodian people to work at the farms at gunpoint and had the kids be part of the military and point guns at the older men. The Khmer Rouge brainwashed these kids into thinking they were doing the right thing. There were no rules as they abolished everything, so if someone did anything bad or be disloyal, they would be killed on the spot. Many people tried to escape, and some succeeded, like Len Koth. But doing this act took up to 11 days just to get to the Thailand border. The Khmer Rouge changed the name of Cambodia to Democratic Kampuchea, and they declared a year zero that described a new start from scratch.
Reaction. The reaction to the Khmer Rouge's victory made everyone relieved, as they were in a civil war and everyone was tired of the fighting. But little did they know, their lives would take a turn for the worse. The Khmer Rouge abolished everything, stripping people of their homes and businesses. People were shocked, as on the same day they were free from war, they were pulled right back into another one. Being forced into labor and not being able to show any affection, or risk being silenced forever, everyone lived in fear, as a single knock on the door could be your end. If a Khmer Rouge soldier knocked on your door, you would be, quote, called. Being called was a death sentence, as you would be taken somewhere and executed. Eventually, you would be thrown into one of the 20,000 mass graves around all of Cambodia. These mass graves could hold up to 100 people each. People had to work in the fields 12 hours a day with no breaks. Only at the end of their shift could they eat 2 rations of porridge. During and after the Khmer Rouge's leadership, around 700,000 people died due to starvation. The problem only got worse as the days passed, as it takes 1 day to several weeks to become malnourished, and working 12 hours a day with 2 rations ruined people's bodies, and eventually some people just failed. They couldn't function with their slowed reaction times, and as Pol Pot has said, since he is of no use anymore, there is no gain if he lives and no loss if he dies. This is where getting called comes into place, because some people just couldn't work anymore, so they were just executed.
Before we go on,
we want to give a special
thanks to Yu Ching
for conducting an interview
with us.
During the Vietnam War, the United States played a major role in destabilizing Cambodia and setting the stage for the Khmer Rouge. And in the late 1960s and early 1970s, the US secretly bombed Cambodia as part of its efforts to destroy North Vietnamese supply lines along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. These bombings, such as Operation Menu, dropped hundreds of thousands of tons of explosives on Cambodian territory, often hitting rural villages, and thousands of civilians were killed, and even more were displaced. The bombing weakened the Cambodian government and created chaos in the countryside. This instability helped the Khmer Rouge gain support. They used all the anger from the US bombings and suffering of civilians to recruit people. They promised justice and a new society, but after taking power in 1975, the Khmer Rouge carried out a brutal genocide that killed about 2 million Cambodians through execution, forced labor, and starvation. Even after the Khmer Rouge was removed from power, the United States and other countries continued to treat them as a political force. And instead of fully supporting justice for their crimes, in these ways, the United States contributed to Cambodia's suffering before, during, and after the Khmer Rouge era. Reform. The Khmer Rouge was purely responsible for its own downfall. The Khmer Rouge constantly made moves provoking the Vietnamese army, and they kept getting away with little things like invading the Vietnamese border, killing innocent civilians. In total, they killed an estimated 30,000 Vietnamese civilians. Although most countries were communist at the time and shared similar ideologies, their peace soon came to an end. This caused many border clashes and aggression from both sides. When the Khmer Rouge crossed borders and killed Vietnamese people in a massacre called the Ba Chook Massacre, the Khmer Rouge stormed into the village and they tortured and then murdered 3,157 civilians. And to save their bullets, they killed the villagers by stabbing them and beheading them. In the end, only 2 people survived. And the Khmer Rouge specifically targeted the Vietnamese, Chinese, Cham Muslims, as well as certain religious groups like Buddhist monks and Christians. They targeted these people because they believed that they were a national security threat and a, quote, poisonous race that needed to be taken out of the system. They didn't care what age you were or if you were a pure-blood Cambodian. Due to the strict rules set by the Khmer Rouge's new lifestyle, they had abolished all religion, money, education, property, urban life, individual rights, and Western culture. All of these things caused the Vietnamese to invade Cambodia, putting an end to the Khmer Rouge and freeing all of Cambodia. This operation was led by a man by the name of General Dong. He led the troops in on foot and ended up victorious in the siege of Phnom Penh.
The Khmer Rouge was overthrown after the Vietnamese invaded, and this caused many people to defect from the Khmer Rouge and abandon their former roles. The Khmer Rouge retreated into the jungle, where they continued their guerrilla tactics. They tried to rally in more troops over the years, but the pressure and constant defections caused this to fail. Pol Pot turned on his former allies and ordered the assassination of Son Sen, as he learned he was secretly negotiating with the Cambodian government. Many higher-ups, fearing that they would be next, turned on Pol Pot and arrested him for his crimes. Pol Pot ended up dying before he could ever be sentenced to anything. He died from a heart attack in his jungle house. And that was the end of the Khmer Rouge.